Okay, great. Well, appreciate you having me here. My name is Jill McKinley, and I've been a speaker at MacStock for a couple of years now. And I'm so appreciative of getting a chance to talk to you all. I used to be, and then here's my deep dark joke, is that I used to be a Windows person. I worked as a technical lead for Microsoft years ago. I've been a Microsoft person since DOS 3.1. And then about 2021, I bought Allison Sheridan's used backup Mac book and started getting myself involved into the Mac world. But before then, I started doing things like I bought the 4S phone, which was my first phone. I used to have a Windows phone. I bought an iPad. I knew immediately I really wanted an iPad, and that was the device I've always wanted my whole life. And then eventually got into the Apple. So right now, as it stands, my entire world is in the Mac world. And so I am now fully converted over and have, like I said, been speaking on a number of topics. This presentation was something that was, that came about. And so you can see kind of the joke of this is that I used to be this person. I used to be the person who played a lot of video games and ate very unhealthy, and my health really took a dive from this. And what I did, and I'll just show you just a picture here. This was me at Mac Stock last year. So this was just a year ago. And over the course of the last year, I lost 80 pounds. And now I'm
Mm,
not going to say that Apple helped me to lose 80 pounds, but it helped me to stay healthy while I lose
yeah.
I lose 80 pounds because you lose a lot of weight. It's very easy to have all sorts of health side effects with that. And so this presentation is talking a little bit about the entire Apple ecosystem and how it can help you to get healthy and stay healthy and things that I did in order to maintain my health and gain some strength. So just to kind of give you the short of it is even in the course of losing 80 pounds, I have put on 12 pounds of muscle through exercise. And usually you lose muscle when you drop a lot of weight. All my blood labs, the cholesterol, glucose, blood pressure, all those stats are now perfect. In fact, my doctor said, if you wanted to stop losing weight, you're welcome to, which I never thought I would ever hear a doctor say to me because I have been this overweight since I've been about 8 years old. So I've been overweight for a very long time, let's say 50 years. And, I never thought I would ever hear a doctor say, you could stop losing weight now, you're good. So it's really a monumental thing for me. And all my stats are good. And I credit this healthy drop in weight and gaining muscle and everything else like that essentially to the Apple ecosystem. And so that's this presentation. Um, so a lot of people joked about Wally and the pod people and how they floated around the spaceship and never got out of their chairs. And I thought, gosh, that sounds like a dream come true for me. I could, do everything I want to do and sit in my chair and podcast and read books and knit. And this is just like a dream come true for me. And then you can see my jokes there that I thought standing up to plug in my laptop counted as a squat. And I was pretty sure that's half the time I got my standing hours on my Apple Watch. I was me going and getting a snack. So, it wasn't going well for me, and I enjoyed my sitting. So, the bottom line of this is, if I can do this, you can do this because I was the least likely person to get into this position. But it was really Apple that helped me along this way. If you look, I saw this quote from Tim Cook, and I wanted to do some investigation. Why did Apple go down this direction? Did Tim Cook have a scary health thing, and he decided to go into the direction of Apple Health? And it turns out he just realized he is a better uh, uh, worker. He thinks better. He does everything better when he does fitness things. And so there was no big scary story there. He just felt that this made his life better. And so him saying that if you were to go, like I said, in the future and look back at Apple and realize that the biggest contribution, he thinks the biggest contribution is going to be to the area of health. And that is pretty amazing to me. And Gosh, I kind of wish like I could just send him this PowerPoint or something like that, because I feel like I'm the beneficiary of all the things that he set up, in getting Apple Health, and not just him, but the whole company in doing this. Now, I'm just going to mention briefly, there's a book by Cass Sunstein and Richard Thaler called Nudge. And the book is primarily about how do governments, I guess, or responsible entities get people to do things they don't necessarily want to do. And the book, the idea is that you start out with a nudge. Hey, wouldn't it be great if you saved for your retirement? Wouldn't it be great if you did this or that? And then there is like a push, where now we're going to push you towards doing something because we asked nicely and now we're going to push. And then I invented shove. And shove is where you don't have a choice anymore. And so I sort of took that idea and brought it over to the idea of I can get this out this way if it's showing on here. Okay. So I sort of took it to this health area, thinking that nudge is exactly what Apple is doing with all these watches and all these things. It is sort of like, hey, wouldn't it be great if you got up? Wouldn't it be great if you got some exercise today? It looks like you didn't sleep very well. Maybe, you should go to sleep a little bit earlier. It's nothing ordering you to do anything. It's just sort of nudging you into that right direction. And then push is, at that point, and I had a push somewhere, about 15 years ago, where I nearly gave myself cancer, and it was a weight-related cancer. So it had to do with my eating and my health, and it scared me, to be honest with you. But, so you get a push that you really need to do something that went, directly into a shove for me. But you never want to go when you're trying to do something like improve your health to get to the shove part. You always hope that you can start with just equipping a person to become more healthy. And I think in the end, that's really what Apple is trying to do with its entire health ecosystem in there. Trying to just get you the things you need to get yourself healthy before it comes to nudge, push, or shove. So that's kind of how I saw all of this. And I don't know, I always thought, I kind of joked, I think Apple must have read this book because it is the experts on the idea of nudge, not just for health, but for everything. That's why Apple works so well. It's why you pay your bills on time and you remember to take out the trash on the right day, because everything with iPhones, your Apple Watch, everything is there trying to just nudge you into the thing you're trying to do, trying to get you to be successful at whatever it is you want to be successful doing. And so I decided they read this book. But, oop, I got off here. There we go. And, just to sort of see what a nudge is when it comes to all my podcasts are small steps. So I sort of have the small steps empire. So you can kind of see I brought it into here. But you think about certain nudges for yourself, apart from technology, where you set out your exercise clothes. You set up a condition that it's called when then. So when I get home from work, then I will exercise. Or when I get up, I will, go for a walk, something like that. Scheduling activities so that you know when it is you're going to get some exercise, or when you're going to spend time learning a new recipe that might be a little bit healthier than what you're eating. Preparing a workout. I don't know about you, the times that I've gone to the gym, half the time I go walking around the gym for a while, not knowing what to do. Like I sit there and I think, well, should I go over here? Should I go over there? Should I do this? And I do this for a little bit. I have no plan. So sometimes just having a plan is, where you want to go. And then even going and allowing a bad or short workout. I sort of negotiated this deal with myself that I just had to get up in my gym clothes and go to the gym, and I had to exercise for 5 minutes. And if I wasn't feeling it, I could go home because I just didn't want to do it. And I only did that once, and the rest of the time I actually stayed and got a workout. So if you just allow yourself to have a bad workout or a short workout, it's better than nothing, that kind of thing. The other big nudge, which, costs some money, for sure, is if you decide to pay for a trainer to help you out. I do highly recommend this. I busted both my ankles primarily by being overweight. I mean, I think that if you sort of rounded down every health problem I've ever had in my life, it all came down to that weight. but I busted both my ankles and I was laid up for about 2 years, and I hired a trainer and she put me all back together again. And you can see I don't walk, I walk without a limp now. And so that's her doing that and putting me back together again. But that's a valuable thing. Or what they call habit stacking. And habit stacking is where you take something that you're already successful and you pair it with something that you're not very good at yet. So I'm not good at exercising. I'm not getting myself to go to exercise or go for a walk or do anything like that. So you pair it with something that you're already good with. That you say, well, I'm already good at going to work and leaving work. So I'm going to tackle exercise when I go home from work or at lunch, or taking something that you're already successful with and pairing it with something that you are just trying to do. Those are like personal nudges, and those are all things that you can do. So that's kind of my non-technology discussion for the moment. But I think the thing of it is that we can all have the good life. We can do better and get kind of the life that we want to have when it comes to health. And like I said, even for me, this is something that I started basically during the pandemic. I started noticing that people who were overweight were getting far more sick than people who were not overweight. And at that point, I decided I had to do something about my weight. And I put together a gym. I started doing a bunch of things. But even for me, this is something that, would have been easier 20 years ago, would have been easier 40 years ago. Absolutely. But today is when's the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. And when's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. So even if you haven't been there yet, you can get there and start doing it. And the great thing about Apple is Apple does everything so that it feels so intuitive. It feels like you're living your life. I kind of joked, a little bit that, back in the day, back in my 20s, I was terrible at paying my bills. I was disorganized. And I said to my friend, I said, well, I didn't get to be a better human being. All the technology around me got better and made me a better human being. So, using this technology that we probably already bought, we probably already have in our house, to get us to do everything that is going in our life, Apple's good at this, and so we should make use of that. So, the first thing, and if anyone has questions, feel free to raise your hand or ask right away. We don't have to wait. But I know I go rather fast. But the big part of this is the Apple Health Kit. It is, or the Health app. It's the central hub for everything involved in our health, and it tracks with really good charts, shows you trends over time. There's notifications you can set up for it. You can customize it so that you can make certain health reports some of your favorite things. And they also sync with third party apps, which I think is really amazing because, like I said, I used to be in the Windows world, and the MO on Apple was, oh, they don't want anyone in their system. And that's completely not true. There are so many third party health apps out there that integrate with the health app so that you can bring in all of this data. And I'll talk about some of these apps coming up in a bit here. But I started looking at my heart rate. My heart rate was going up higher. Um, I can literally look at the health app and probably know a day or two in advance I'm getting sick because my heart rate goes up, my heart rate variability goes down, my temperature goes up, and my blood oxygen goes down. And I got COVID, and I knew about like a day before I felt any sickness at all. I went, oh, there it is. I can see it in my stats. So I stopped, go visiting my friends and stuff like that. But you can use all the stats that are here to help you. And I'll talk about some ways that I used it to improve my health. But a lot of times you maybe not even go into the health app, but it is so good. And like I said, I busted my ankles. And if you looked at my walking stats, I was using double support a huge majority of the time. By losing 80 pounds, now my walking is regular. My walking speed has gone up. And so all the effects of me messing up my ankles has gone away. If you look at my heart rate now has come down. I have it hooked up to glucose testing. All has gone down to normal. And so now my glucose is normal as well. My sleep is up. I have one of those because of Bart. We mentioned Bart earlier. I have one of these withing bed sensors because I was getting in towards sleep apnea. And it sits between your mattress and your box spring, and it measures your breathing, your heart rate, and it will detect apnea. And I was having breathing troubles about an hour and a half every night. And now I have 0 minutes of breathing problems, all because of the changes that I've made through all of this. So it, like I said, you can literally see your health improving when you look at the health app. Now, we're not going to read through all of these, but you can see that the health app covers a lot of information. Some of this is third party, some of this is coming out in the future. We talked about blood pressure coming, soon, or at least blood pressure warnings coming soon. There's all sorts of things that you can track. And you can't look at it all. It is a lot of information. And so through my time with Apple in fixing some of my health problems, I started out with sleep. I was having a hard time sleeping. I've had insomnia since I was probably in grade school. And finally, I had the tools where I could start tracking my sleep, figuring out what was going wrong. There was a number of miscellaneous things that were going wrong, but I was able to use sleep apps, track things, and figure out why I was having such a hard time sleeping. And so that was the very first thing I improved, because I thought, if I can't feel energized, I'm not going to exercise, I'm not going to do all the other things. Used it to track my nutrition through third-party apps, like I said, did glucose, everything like this. So it has shown me where I've improved and where I need improvement. So right now, my heart rate variability is indicating I'm stressed out, which is maybe because I have too many podcasts. So I now have my next target. What's the next thing I need to fix in my health? It is my levels of stress, because the heart rate variability is showing that I am stressed out. So, you can kind of see what it is you should work on. You can't do everything at the same time, but certainly by using the health app, you can see directions, maybe the biggest thing that you should take on at a time. And the nice thing, some small steps that you can do when you're using the health app is, like I said, the first thing is favorite some of your key favorite metrics. For me, it's been heart rate variability. It has been trends in my heart rate, and trends also when it came to how I was sleeping and whether I was having breathing problems when I was sleeping. But a couple years ago, it was tracking how much fiber protein I was getting and what my glucose was. So it can change over time, and you can keep favoring different aspects of the health app so that you check to see what's important to you. And I spend time every Sunday night where I reflect on those key trends to see, am I getting better? Am I doing worse? What happened this week? If I didn't exercise as much as I thought I should, what kind of fell apart, and what can I do better about it next week? You also are welcome to log your own metrics by manually. So, for example, if you wanted to track how much water you drink, you don't have to get a water tracking app. You could just record it manually if you decided that you wanted to do that. So even if you don't find a third party app, you can certainly do that. The other interesting thing, and I threw this in here, is that the journal app is new functionality in iOS 26, and now it is available on the Mac. At the last version of journal, you could only have one journal, which is nice. It shows you where your pictures are and where did you go, and did I go up to the bay, and did I look at the whales, and did I get the June glooms and the May grays. You can start journaling all sorts of things. But now with the journal app, you can have more than one journal. So you could just have one dedicated to exercise. How did I feel? Did I feel better? Did I feel worse? Because I would used to tell you, when I was having more health problems, I'm too tired to exercise. I'm exhausted. I can't possibly go to the gym. I'm just don't not feeling well. And I found out through journaling that not only did I feel better when I got done exercising, it energized me instead of robbing me of energy, is that I felt better the next day. And so I wouldn't have guessed that, except I wrote it myself in a journaling app. And so now I think the journal app that comes with Apple is perfectly great for that. So I, highly suggest it. And the other thing is finding and connecting third-party apps. We'll talk about it in just a minute, But in each section of the health app, it shows you what are really good apps out there that you can get to track this. So if you're drinking water, here's a great water app. If you're tracking glucose, there's a great glucose app. And so it will actually make suggestions for you so you can find apps. You can also email me. I tried them all. I've tried so many health apps out there that it's been pretty good for me. So the next thing to talk about is the Apple Watch. And this was really the biggest landmark that came through for health for me, where I started taking Apple seriously as being a health device or a health environment for me. And when they first did the video for the first Apple Watch, and talked about health and, getting out there and exercising and all these things, I took it to heart and I bought the very first Apple Watch. But it can do a lot. It measures, like I said, your heart rate variability. That one's a hard kind of obscure measurement, but it does measure it. But that tells you how much stress you're undergoing and how healthy your heartbeats are so that you can recover from stress, whether it's physical stress or mental stress. And so it's a very good measurement. The blood oxygen is fantastic, particularly, I think we saw that during the pandemic, that when your blood oxygen goes down, you can tell that you're getting into, a trouble situation. Temperature now, it does sleep tracking as well. It does mobility, and like I said, it was really good for me because I got to see myself healing from when I screwed up my ankles. So essentially, I busted the left ankle tendon, and then the right ankle tendon went because now you're leaning too much on your right side because the left one hurts, and now you busted that side too. I could see that my efforts in exercising and resistance training was paying off as the various types of mobility started getting better. My speed started going up, my double time support started getting less, and I thought, okay, we're making progress. So it's one of those things that you never could imagine that you would be able to measure, I think, on your own, and Apple Watch will do that all by itself. There's things called workout zones, which if you're getting started in exercise, I wouldn't worry too much about but are you working out hard enough? Pushing yourself a little bit. Like I used to go for walks, and when I was kind of having my weight problem, and I lollygagged, I just sort of scrambled this way and that way, and I didn't challenge myself. And the Apple Watch can detect, am I doing challenging myself a little bit, but you don't want to challenge yourself too much. And the general rule is that you want to be a little bit out of breath, but not so much out of breath where you couldn't have a conversation with a person next to you. But the Apple Watch will tell you for real what your workout zones are. How did you work out hard? Are you taking it too easy on yourself, or maybe you're taking yourself too hard with exercise? And of course, the alerts. I'm a big fan of the alerts. I live here by myself, and I always like the fact that there's heart rate alerts that are there. I was more worried about it before. I was, like I said, getting into some weird heart rhythms. And fall detection. I am that person who's always standing on a ladder doing something stupid, and so I appreciate the fact that it will notify someone if I fall off of a ladder doing something. And of course, it drives the rings. And so you can raise your hand if you want. Does anyone track your rings here? Does anyone like try to get their rings in every day? Yeah, some people. Yeah, some try to do that. I asked that at MacStock as well, and I asked people too how many people turned off all their notifications for their. How many people turned off all their notifications? Anyone do that? Well, anyway, um, so essentially, we'll talk about the rings here in just a minute, but all of this comes because of the Apple Watch. And like I said, when the first Apple Watch came out, I bought it. And now I got myself into the Ultra Watch because I just love it so much because it has been the hub. And I'll tell on the next slide why that was. Is the rings. And I think the rings are kind of genius. This is where I thought, oh gosh, they read the nudge book. So let me talk about the green ring first, and then I'll get back to the red one. Of course, exercise. How much exercise did you intentionally get during the day? And it can be anything. It could be a walk. It can be, I mow the lawn. I get a good, 95 minutes of exercise when I mow my lawn because my yard is too unruly. And just trying to get a decent amount of exercise every day. Then there's the stand ring, and this one is the challenge for me. I work in health IT. I work for the UC Davis hospital in IT, and I can get really engrossed in my work. And suddenly I'll look down at 2 p.m., and which is noon your time, and then suddenly I'm like, oh gosh, I have only stood up 3 times since in my whole work day, and it's already late. And I have problems with that. I get really engrossed in my work, and so I forget to stand up. So I appreciate, hey Jill, stand up, get up and move around. They're starting to say that sitting too much is the new smoking, although smoking is also the old smoking, but it's not good for you either. But sitting so much, and I know I have a real capacity to sit, and the watch has helped me to remember to stand up and just do something, and just to move around a little bit. And we all know that from like oh, you get in an airplane, right? And they tell you not to sit for so long because you can get thrombosis and stuff. It's pretty much the same thing when you're not in the air as well. The move ring now is interesting, and I think that's the most interesting of them all. Because let's say that you do the things, you go and you exercise. And chances are, if you go and exercise at the gym for, maybe half hour, you might burn like 180, 200 calories or something like that. The move ring is actually looking at maybe about 500 calories a day of exercise, of just moving around, doing something intentionally. So you have basically the amount of calories you burn just being a human being blob in your Wally pod floating around. They're saying you should get 500 calories above that, or whatever the calorie is set for. Get something above that. And so I tend to be that person. I go to the gym first thing in the morning, and then maybe I walk around in the rest of my day, but I still am not doing enough other things where and that could be doing the dishes. It could be going and playing catch with the dog, anything. It could be anything. And it's just seeing that you're not just going out to the gym first thing in the morning and then sitting there like a blob for the rest of the day. That's the red ring. So it's kind of a good I think that these are all good minimum efforts. That's the unfortunate thing. I never used to get this at all. And I realize this is just us being human beings. We think about, the span of human beings, we never just sat this much. And so it's just trying to get us out of our chair. All right, how are we doing for time? Okay. So some small steps you can take with your Apple Watch is you could try closing all your rings daily might be too much of a challenge, but maybe try it for a week, or maybe try it for a day, or maybe try to get one of your rings every day in a week or something like that. But start small, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself with too much. But is there something that you could do to sort of challenge yourself to do it, and maybe find what's the most important thing? Do you sit too much like I sit too much? Or maybe just going out and going for a half-hour walk every day, something that would encourage you to do that. And make sure that you enable your notifications. You get those gentle nudges coming from your watch, reminding you to stand up and reminding you to just move around a little bit. The other one is you can set focus modes. I have a friend, and it's hilarious because we go out bird watching, and we just went out to our favorite state marsh last weekend, and she gets so many notifications. I'm the one who got her into iPhones and got her into having one. And now people, so we're going out hiking and looking for birds, and she's like, oh, this person just texted me, oh, I just got this email. And I said, I have never met anyone who needed a focus mode more than you. So I got her set up with a focus mode, because shouldn't she just enjoy being outside when we're walking around and looking for birds? And set it up so that only the most important messages come through. That maybe we have parents, who want to contact us, something like that, but not getting so disorganized or so distracted. So setting up focus modes is something great for your watch as well. You can customize your ring goals. If you find burning 500 calories is just too much for you in a day, you can drop it down. You can, if you feel like you can't stand, you don't have to stand for 14 hours, but you just have to, or 12 hours, but you just have to stand during 12 hours. Maybe you can't. So do what will actually work for you. And now what's nice too is that you can actually pause your rings. I used to fly to California. I worked for Cedar Sinai for 2 years. I worked for Fred Hutch in Washington State, and when I was flying back, I would miss my standing hours because even if I got up really early, I would spend 4 hours on a flight coming back to the North Woods, and then I'd lose 2 hours in the time zone, and I couldn't get my standing hours because of the time zone. So I was almost on a year streak. I was 5 days from a year streak, and I missed it because of a flight back from California. I tried, but you can pause them now. So that makes it a lot easier for you. But use those rings to sort of to your advantage to encourage you to do something. And like I said, you're not going to get every ring every day when you're just starting out, but just challenge yourself to do something.
Mhm.
And so the next part is Apple Fitness Plus, and I got into Apple Fitness Plus because I got the Apple One, and so I know a lot of people get Apple One so they can get the backup, so they can get some of the various features of it, and then they get Apple Fitness Plus, and I did a poll among people, how many people even turned it on to see what Apple Fitness Plus has on it. And I was really surprised. So for my presentation that I did at Macstock, I tried one of every type of exercise that existed on there just to see what it was like and if I liked it or not. And they were all good. They were meditation was a little woo woo for me. I'm not a very good sitter stiller person, but it wasn't kind of my speed. But a lot of people love the meditation, but they're all very good. And even I do have a rowing machine, and I just thought that they were great. So this is a high quality product that Apple is giving with the Apple Fitness Plus. You can start at any level. If you are just starting out, usually, if you ever watched an exercise program before, there's going to be the trainer who's the middle person. And then there's going to be Bob over there on the right, who's the advanced person doing the harder thing. And then there's Sally over there on the left doing the starter thing. You can pick your level. So wherever you're at, it has a place for you. And the one I really enjoyed was Pilates. I didn't know what that was. I never did a Pilates thing in my life, and I tried it, and I thought, "Gosh, this is really good." So, there's something for everyone that's here. You get to sync your in real time. You see your Apple Watch on the screen if you're using the Apple TV or an iPad. So how good your heart rate is doing, it'll show you that. There's personalized workouts based on your past, your music selection, the duration, the kinds of exercise you have, so it will suggest something for you to do next. You can even set up a customized workout plan, which is what I did. So I go and see a trainer on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and so I set up a customized workout plan for myself with Apple Fitness Plus for Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that's been
Mhm.
really good for me. And then it reminds you, like, hey, Jill, is it time for Pilates yet? So it's not quite as chipper as that, but you get the idea that it's just there to help you and to do that. So it's really good. And so if you haven't seen it yet, it's fantastic. And the nice thing about it is that you can start with just a 5 to 10 minute workout. You can use the filters to find exactly what it is you like to do. So you can filter by, like I said, workout type, music type, duration, any of those things. And there's even something called time to walk and time to run, which is on the phone and through your AirPods, which will give you like a speech or something, kind of a conversation. The time for walk is usually someone who's inspirational, who can kind of, get you through your walk as you're doing it and, make you think a little bit. And they're very good as well. The nice thing too is that you can download these workouts. So that means that if you're someplace that doesn't have internet, you'll be able to use them as well. So it's very handy. And like I said, I think they kind of thought of everything there. So if you don't have a trainer, this is a way that you can get training done with someone who's a professional. And so that you can use these on your iPhone, your iPad, Apple TV. I went and bought myself a kind of a cheap TV, but put an Apple TV box on it in my room over there so that I could work out. And I just sort of put like a big open space so that I could do the exercise. And that's been really great. The sad thing is there's no Mac app. You have this beautiful Mac screen, and I don't get it. I hope that they will change their mind on why there is no Mac app, but they don't have one. So it's like I said, iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, and then if you do have an Apple Watch, it enhances the whole experience because it shows you exactly how hard you're working out, and how you're doing with duration. And you can start these right on your watch. There is an audio focus mode, and you can prioritize whether you want to hear more voice or more music. So there's a lot of people who just want to hear music when they exercise. I'm more like I want to hear the talking from the trainer. I want to hear the right way to do something. So you can set a focus there if you wish to do that. And so, like I said, you can get started with your iPhone, your iPad. You can add some widgets onto your home screen. There's a lot of good health widgets there. Again, set up your focus modes. You can set up notifications with your iPhone and your iPad to when you should get a drink. When I'm losing weight, one of the most important things I have to do is I have to drink 96 ounces of water every day. And so I have constant reminders to remind me to drink water, or remind me, to do certain things throughout the day. And then, like I said, you can set up these custom Apple Fitness workouts directly on your devices and then use them anytime. And so this is such a good system. And like I said, I think that Apple invested so much into this. And I know that a lot of people have never tried them before. So just maybe even try one. AirPods, I think we don't think about AirPods as much as a fitness thing, but you can, because you can set up motivational playlists. You can use the time to walk or the time to run programs that are on there. You can control the noise. So if you want to hear noise going around you, I used to, like I said, I worked for Cedar Sinai in Los Angeles, and I was always afraid I was going to get run over. So I had transparent mode on so I wouldn't get run over on the streets of Los Angeles. My hotel was right on Wilshire Boulevard, and so I had the potential of getting run over quite a bit. I was also the only person who walked in LA, which was interesting. Nobody walks in LA. And but maybe you are in a noisy gym and you want to have the noise cancellation to kind of be in your own zone, so that kind of helps out too. You can pair it with your Apple Watch, and also create Siri shortcuts so that you can like start a workout. It starts your music, it turns on a focus mode. I mean, you can get quite sophisticated with the Apple environment and the AirPods too. And the Apple system will even suggest music for you based on your kinds of workouts. So that's kind of really nice way to do that. One of the interesting things is I said about pairing for your watches. So how many people actually got the cellular phone system on your watch? Does anyone get that set up so that cell service is actually on your watch by itself? Not many people did. I did that. And good. Yeah, you did it too. And so then I asked people, I said, well, how many people go places without their phone now that you set that up? And everyone looked at me like, why would you do such a thing? And I'm like, well, so part of it is I like to go for walks or bike rides without my phone so that I don't get distracted with it. My watch is enough to measure all my exercising, but also I can play podcasts and audiobooks on my AirPods. And so it's directly without using a cell phone at all. And then that's really kind of nice to just get away from your phone. I said, that Tim Cook gave me an iPhone and got me addicted to it, and then he gave me an Apple Watch to get me unaddicted to it. So sometimes it's kind of nice to just get away from it and not have to be with your iPhone all the time. I know, sacrilege. I shouldn't say such things. But AirPods are a great way of doing that. Now, I will tell you that I'm getting into creating shortcuts. I'm only in the Apple world when it comes to Mac, and be really invested in the Apple world probably for the last 5 years, 6 years. And so I'm now getting into creating shortcuts. But like I said, you can create really good shortcuts that sets up your workout, starts your workout, sets a focus mode, creates or starts a playlist up for you. So I would recommend, if you're good at setting up shortcuts, to set up some situations that will help you work out, that will help you be more comfortable when you're working out. Or maybe if you're
Which
oh, go ahead.
Which iPod do you have? You're hearing
Uh,
which?
or AirPods? Which AirPods do I have?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have the two Pros. So the Apple 2 Pros.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah. Um, and I got it like this so that I can carabine it onto my backpack. So I can
Oh.
hang them right here and hike around with them.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, if you're good at creating focus modes, try to make this as easy and comfortable, for you to do. And if you go for a walk, what do you do best with? Do you do best when you kind of hear things around you? Or do you do best when you just hear your podcast, your book, your music, and you can get involved in it, but start setting things up so that you can make this as pleasant as you possibly can? That's been kind of good for me. The other thing too is it's fun to do challenges, and this gets kind of a lot for people. But there, first of all, are the monthly challenges. Your Apple Watch will say, "Hey, get burn 500 calories a day for 5 days." It'll give you some challenge to do, and then it gives you an award when you get that challenge. And then there's of course the special days like Veterans Day, Heart Month, those kinds of things for special challenges. I'm not, I always get kind of like into this like third, I don't know, like anytime someone gives me one of these things, I say, oh, that's real corny. And then I reject it outright. And then I started doing them and they're all good. They're just fun ways of getting yourself involved in exercise, of doing the Apple challenges. But there are also ways that you can share. So, me and my friends now, we are all friends on our Apple Watch exercises. And so, if my friend does a workout, it tells me about it. If she gets an award, it tells me about it. And then I say, yay, you. And we encourage each other to do better. So, you can just set that up in the fitness app so that you can share your fitness adventure with friends and encourage each other. That's one of the ways that helped me because I honestly just don't love exercise. I want to sit here and I want to podcast. And you might notice behind me, I have a ton of yarn and books, and I just want to read and knit. And it was a hard stretch for me to get into exercising, but getting my friends involved and making it a little bit more fun has been good for me. There's even third-party apps, and I won't go through them all, but Strava is a kind of a very competitive one that if you're, biking, you sort of like you can see how your friends are biking and how much you're biking. It feels like a lot for me. So there's something else out there called Conquer Challenges. This is a third-party app, and they have all sorts of fun little programs where you can walk around. Like I did a bike around Iceland thing. I did anyone Lord of the Rings fan, I did a thing where I had to walk from the Hobbit town to drop the one ring into the Mount Doom. And it would give you like this little story, and you walk from here to there. But it bases it on the real life exercise you do, and then it gives you a little story involved in it. And then if you finish the challenge, they sent me like an award for dropping the ring into Mount Doom, and then they sent me the one ring, and I thought, well, I thought I destroyed this already, but anyway, it's fun, and there's all sorts of fun challenges. Ireland, I mean, anything that you're interested in, there's a challenge for it, and so it's kind of fun. But that's called Conquer Challenges. There's some other third party challenges out there too,
Mm.
and like I said, integration, third party integrations. A lot of people use MyFitnessPal to track their exercise and their diet. I use My Net Diary because it actually is very detailed when it comes to nutrition. I was kind of curious, am I getting actually any nutrition at all? And I started getting sort of this realistic look at what I'm getting, and found out I wasn't getting nearly enough fiber. I fixed that because if you're going to lose 80 pounds, you have to get enough fiber, or sorry, protein, or you will lose muscle mass. So I started really focusing hard on my protein and my fiber. But my net diary is great. It's, like I said, it's very detailed, and it also helps you to track your glucose if you have a paid account. So that all integrates with the health app. Strava, like I said, is if you're into like heavy biking and running, it's pretty intense. It's a little bit too much for me. I use an app called Heavy, which you can set up workout plans. And essentially, you tell it what equipment you have, and then it'll generate a workout plan based on what you own. So I own a couple of dumbbells, a couple of resistance straps, I have a rowing machine. And so it'll set up a plan for you so that you can get a decent amount of workout in. Health Fit is something that will look at your workout data and see trends with it. Heart Watch will look at your heart data and see trends with it. So that's where I started noticing that my heart rate has dropped considerably since losing the weight. Good. I got into this Welltory thing, and that one is the one that looks at heart rate variability. And so it says offhand that I'm very healthy. I'm getting healthier. It noticed that, but it also said, Jill, you're way too stressed out. So that's, like I said, my next thing that I'm working on is how can I get less stressed out. Sleep cycle for sleep, I use that. That's been very good because it will let you do tags. And so I can
Mm.
tag and say, it was too hot tonight, or it was too cold, or it was too noisy, or, and I can see what interrupted me. And then, lots of fun running kinds of games. You might not know this, but you can connect your electronic medical records to your Apple Health Kit. And so all your notes and your labs come directly into it. And I wouldn't trust anyone with this. I wouldn't trust it if I was on Microsoft still. I wouldn't trust it if I was on Google, but I trust Apple that if I'm going to bring my electronic medical records into an app, that Apple's going to respect that and keep it safe. So you can do that. And I think that's been very good for me. I have Epic. And so they have something called My Chart, and that's what integrates with Apple Health Kit. And I'm sure that Cerner, which is the big competitor, has something too. And now we're starting to get in the world of AI. There's two apps out there called Noom and Lark. They're mostly diet, food coaching, saying, well, Jill, you sort of ate a very dense lunch. Maybe it'd be great, And so it tries to use AI to tell you how to eat better. They all have subscriptions for the most part. So be aware of that. But there's a lot of really good third party integration apps out there and a lot more that you can find. And so, like I said, if you want a small steps towards a third party application, first make sure, like I said, you can go into each section in the health app and it will suggest some other third party apps for you. If you want to track something, figure out what it is you want to track and make sure that it is health compatible. I got kind of tricked by some people that said it was compatible with Apple and it wasn't. But here's the other thing is don't tell it more information. So every app that you hook up to Apple Health Kit, it will ask you what it should be able to read and what it should be able to write to. So my sleep app should write to my sleeping, right? My sleep app should write to maybe my heart rate at night, if it's doing that. My scale should be able to write to my weight. But if it asks me, yeah, we would like to see your sleep data too, like, why does my scale need to see my sleep data? So you can say no to things that it asks for. So just be on top of that because we know that third party apps can sell your data. So I don't know why they'd want to sell my sleep data, but they could. And there's also a lot of fitness centers, sensors that integrate with the Apple Health Kit. And, anything from weight, I have the sleep bed thing from Withing. They cost about $80. Heart rate, glucose, thermometers, all sorts of things that you can get to integrate into the Health Kit. And Apple Vision Pro, the gist of this is right now, I hope that someday Apple Vision Pro is a workout device. I have an Oculus, and it wasn't my favorite thing that they sold to Facebook. So I was kind of down on that. But they have a lot of fitness things on there, a lot of really good fitness things on Oculus. And I'm hoping that Apple Vision Pro goes that direction. But I could see that people would worry that they'd get it all sweaty and broken if they tried to exercise with it. So I could see why maybe not. And the future is AI, and so I'm hoping that we'll start doing more with AI. I was able to figure out some of my sleeping challenges because you can pull data out of the Apple Health Kit, and I started running correlations. I sort of majored in math and statistics in college, and so I was able to do this sort of statistical analysis that found out that when I go out and with my friends. I sleep terribly that night. I'm an extrovert. I wind up. I am wound up now. I'm probably never going to sleep for the rest of the night. I'm just kidding. It'll be fine. But I sort of started noticing things about myself and my sleep patterns and how I felt when I exercised. And wouldn't it be nice if someday AI started noticing those things for us automatically instead of the ways I did it, where I pulled the data out and started doing statistics on it. But it would be nice to know a little bit more about what works with us and what doesn't work. So, like I said, what can you do to start with small steps is just, first of all, reflect on what you enjoy. The best exercise plan is the one that you like. And if you don't like it, you're probably not going to stick with it. I found out I love lifting weights, and I didn't know that until I actually started lifting weights. I really love it. And so that now I do it all the time, and it's what I really enjoy. I enjoy biking, but I don't enjoy walking. I like hiking in the woods, but when you're inside of a city, I just don't enjoy going for walks, so I go for bike rides. But figure out what it is that you like and what will be enjoyable to you. Maybe you just want to go to the gym and get on a rowing machine. They're very relaxing in a lot of ways. But pick a realistic level of commitment. What are you willing to commit to right now? It's not going to be the perfect thing. People feel that it's 150 minutes a week is what you're supposed to exercise to sort of be kind of a healthy human being, but do what you can. Try to aim for something that works for you. Try to find one Apple class that works for you, and find one Apple ring that you can finish every day, or start some sort of a challenge with a friend. But really, your realistic level of commitment is the most important thing. And this slide is too much, but basically, a BATNA and a WATNA, there's the perfect world, right? The perfect world is that you get up every morning and you have a trainer and you train and you exercise and you have a chef who cooks for you. The BATNA is, what is the best next thing? What is it you can do that you can live with? And that's the important thing. And then the WATNA is the worst thing. What is the bare minimum of exercise am I willing to do? The least amount. And so that's really what helped me, is that I came up with, Jill, you have to do at least 15 minutes of exercise every day. It would be great if you did 30. And I sort of came up with this range. You could read this slide later, but essentially it is coming up with a negotiation with yourself. What's the bare minimum you're willing to do? And, like I said, if I can do it, you can do it, because I am the least likely person to get fit in shape. Like I said, I put on 12 pounds of muscle during this particular period of time while I lost 80 pounds. That means that my goal weight now is 12 pounds higher. So I've upped my goal weight. I feel great. I am capable of doing things. I have a friend who's one of these naturally fit people that you just want to smack. And now suddenly, for the first time in my life, I can go for walks with her and keep up, and where she's not waiting for me all the time. And like I said, she's stunned by it all. But if I can do it, you can do it, and that's the end goal. But let Apple help you. You bought all this cool stuff, and it is really all geared towards helping you get healthy. And just like you use it to help you get to meetings on time and pay your bills on time and do things for work, let it help you get fit too. If you know Chuck Joyner, he asked me that question when I was interviewed by him. He said, "Why do you think this worked and nothing else has?" And I said, "It's because Apple makes it so darn accessible, so easy, so many good reminders. It makes not just this, but everything better." And we probably have all seen that. And so let it help you. You spent the big bucks on all the Apple stuff. Let it help you get healthy too. And I think that that's it. So you got the tools, stick with it and go forward and all of it, and take small steps, because that's my brand. All right. Does anyone have any questions at all?
Yes, I do. And
Okay.
thank you for that incredibly comprehensive overview. That was outstanding.
Oh, thank
I've
you.
been a heavy user of all of the Apple tools, closing my rings, etc. And a couple of days ago, I got a notice from the system that my blood pressure may be too high.
Oh,
That's the first time I think that's been available. And I was kind of shocked because I knew that it wasn't, but I have a
Hmm.
cuff, and so I took the measurement, and it was really high. So
Oh,
then I did a little research and said, well, could it be that I'm dehydrated? And yes, that's one of the things. So I made sure to drink a lot of water. I turned on the water tracker app so it would remind me, took my blood pressure the next day, and it was perfect.
oh,
Like, whew,
good.
what a relief. But it did give me a little scare.
Yeah.
And those notifications are helpful, but also the ability to see trends
Yeah.
over weeks, months, or even years.
Hmm.
And that's also uh, reinvigorating. When you see your trend going in the right direction, you don't want to break that streak. And you see it going in the wrong direction, well, then you get on it. But thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right, is that I went camping and I got back and the next day I had a blood lab due and my doctor said, "Oh my gosh, your kidneys are failing." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "It was fine before, but now your kidneys are failing." And he goes, "By any chance, did you not drink enough water lately?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I was camping, and who wants to go out hiking in the middle of the woods and drink a lot of water and, no bathrooms around?" And he's like, "Okay, I want you to come back in 2 weeks." And you're like, "Okay, now, you're right. That's a simple thing like drinking more water. And then, so is something a one-off or something a trend?"
Right.
Right.
Oh, one more question. You
Yeah.
mentioned something about getting a tap to keep pace, uh, a, a haptic tap, or while you're running or walking. I don't
Oh,
know where that would be.
I don't, it's funny because there is a third party app out there that does do metronome kind of stuff. What I think I was mentioning is that it was talking about heart rate zones, that you
Oh,
can look
right.
at your exercise and see that you were in the right zone of exercise. And so I can look into that and get back with Linda and see, if I find something. But I do
Yeah,
believe there is a pace app out there.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Some of us are older than others. Do you have any special advice for people who are, let's say, over retirement age and want to exercise?
Um, I think it's the same that it's for everybody too, is to start small. So like I said, when I busted up my ankles, I went and saw a trainer. And so she suggested that we're going to start small. And so when I first started, lifting weights and that, I was like on, like 3 and 5 pound dumbbells, the smallest, tiniest dumbbells that you can get. And now I'm doing like 20 and 25 pound dumbbells. But the idea is that you don't want to go fast. You want to go so that you're comfortable, that there's never any sharp pains, that you start really slow. And one of the interesting things about it is I was just watching something the other day, and there was a fellow who he worked out his right arm with really light weights, but he did a lot of them. And then out his left arm with really heavy weights, but did fewer all repetitions. And found out that actually the light weights with more repetitions will do better. And so, what you don't want to do is you never want to get yourself into pain. Start wherever it is you have to start. Don't ever compare yourself to anyone else. Don't look at what the next person's doing. And like I said, it might not be a bad idea. Do you belong to a gym by any chance?
No, not now.
Not now. That if you do, you can usually, in fact, my trainer, I can get you her address if you're interested. She'll do an introductory session with you and talk to you a little bit about, getting started with exercise. But, most trainers will. And so there's people around your area who will probably give you a free session or give you like a low cost 2 sessions to set up an exercise plan with you so that you can either follow it. But if you don't have an exercise plan, do you get Apple Fitness in any of like the Apple One? Do you use
Yes.
Apple? Yeah. Yeah, I would say there. I would say the Apple Fitness plan is really the greatest way to get started. It is um like I said, varying levels, and find out something that you want to do. And when it comes to you know, like I actually did a video. I can send this to Linda. She can maybe share it with you. But I did a video for my own YouTube channel where I showed people my gym and did like low cost exercise equipment that, you know, really the best way that you can set up is there's these resistance bands, and all they do are like giant rubber bands. And so instead of getting started in weights, you can start with these resistance band, and you do like exercise where you pull them apart, you step on one end and you pull it up and down. But like you can get the whole kit for 25 bucks on Amazon. And so instead of investing in a bunch of dumbbells and weights, stuff like that, you might start there. You know, but like I said, you know, using Apple Fitness and finding, you know, something that would be interesting to you. I'm biased in that I think weightlifting is the greatest thing on the planet,
Right.
and resistance training. And so that's going to be those bands, that's going to be dumbbells, you know, but there's also body weight exercises. And I don't know if you've done much of anything, but you can start small with all the body weight exercises too. And so, like I said, I guess I would start with Apple One and try that. But if you have the means and the money, they wouldn't be bad to see if you can't find someone who couldn't give you, you know, like 2 sessions to get an exercise program for you that you could do at home and that you could buy, you know, some minimal amounts of stuff. But yeah, I asked my trainer too once, you know, what would you tell someone who's never done anything? And she said, well, I would just say start by going for a walk. You know, start very simple and very, you know, you don't need to buy a lot of cardio equipment. You just go for a walk.
Okay, well, I've done that, and that's a very helpful answer. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you're interested, I can send you the link to my cheap exercise equipment video that I did a couple weeks ago. So,
I think I would like that. Yeah.
all right.
I'd like to see that too, Jill.
Okay, I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
I'll get it from Linda. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And Jill, I have a memory that I'm not sure of. I had this notion in my head that Apple did something for older folks, you know, for people, let's say 70 and up. Do you have any recollection of anything like that? It sounds like you don't.
No, I mean, I did all their exercises, you know, and some, you know, like if we go back, let me go back to don't throw up if I'm going too fast.
No, no throwing up. No, no.
My friend. But if you look, or I'm going to find it there. You know, like if you look at HIIT is not very good when you're starting out. HIIT is intensive, right?
It's intent. Yeah.
Yeah, but the strength training, the dumbbells, body weight exercises, resistance bands, the yoga and the Pilates, the core training, need very little equipment and
Right.
will get you somewhere. And I don't know about like specifically for older people, but there's always explaining that if
Yeah.
you can't do a push-up, this is how you can do an assisted push-up or you know, an easier push-up or an easier exercise. You know, running and cycling can be hard on people. Getting a treadmill can be expensive. Rowing machines, you know, there's a company out there called oh gosh, what is this? But they sell rowing machines, and those things are made out of steel beams, and they'll last you for the rest of your life. They're about $1,000, and they will never break down. I mean, you will own this thing forever. Let me
Yeah,
find
no,
them.
I have a friend who's well into her 80s, and I've given her some 1 pound and 3 pound dumbbells. But that's why I was asking. I thought I had remembered Apple
Yeah.
doing something. If you ever run across that, shoot it my way.
Okay, yeah, I
Um,
will. So I'm gonna. Why can't I remember my own rowing machine? But this company is fantastic, and like I said, most of the rowing machines are kind of not great. It's C2 rowing machines. It's Concept 2. Concept 2 is the company. And they make rowing machines and ski ergs, which are you standing there and doing ski stuff. These things are made to last. They cost $1,000 and you will own them forever. And they fold up in half. And I just think that rowing is one of the greatest things that you can do because it's not so intense. You go at the speed you go. And
right,
so that's where I started when I was at zero fitness. And I still do it today. And now I'm in better fitness. I still row. So,
right. Right.
Yeah. So I
And then,
guess I would start with those.
okay. Okay. And I just wanted to second, I'm with you on the weights. I don't think people appreciate, if you haven't done them, it's just such a good feeling to get stronger. It's really an awesome feeling. I'm
Yeah.
with you on the dumbbells. And 1 pounds and 3 pounds are perfect to start with, you
Yep.
know, no matter.
Yeah, that's right. Do what you can, and
Yeah.
you will make. And the fun thing about weights, my friend just got into doing weights, and it's because I made her, and she got mad at me. But she she did like a DEXA scan. You can get DEXA scans privately, and she found out she had zero level of fitness.
Ooh.
The two of us used to play video games like back in the 80s, and she
Yeah.
never stopped. So she's been playing video games the whole time. Meanwhile, I started losing weight and exercising, and she never did. And it basically said she had zero level of fitness.
Wow.
And she's worked out now for 4 months. And the good news is you gain a lot of fitness early on at the high ends.
Right.
Like you see these muscle guys in the gym, they will spend the next 10 years trying to add 1% weights. But at
Yeah.
the early ends of it, you make impacts fast. Yeah.
Right.
I've also heard that it's even more important if you're older, that the gains are so much more powerful. Even though
Yeah.
they're small gains, makes a
Yeah.
huge difference.
Yeah. And for folks local to here, I will just mention that Planet Fitness, which it isn't the greatest facility, but it's not bad, and it's like $10 a month. It's incredibly cheap for as many times as you want to go. So
But
I'm
yeah.
doing that temporarily. But
And if you're interested, so I don't know if you're interested in this kind of thing, and I'm not advertising for her, but my trainer does remote sessions like on FaceTime.
right,
And so, and for let me just put it this way, things in Wisconsin are a little bit cheaper than they are in California.
right, for sure. Yeah,
So I'll send that to Linda as well. And if anyone's interested in at least having a session or hearing about my trainer, but she does it over FaceTime. And we did this during the pandemic. And because I said, oh, I just started working out with you, and now this pandemic, and now what happens? We worked out all the time through the pandemic through FaceTime, and she was able to get me going. And we
okay.
stayed working on this. So if you're interested, I'll send her information. But I'm sure there's people around you locally too.
Right, right. There are. Okay.
All right. I know we're getting on time, so I don't want to.
Other people, quick. I don't want to keep you up that
Oh,
late here because we're
I
on.
work for California. I don't have to work
Oh,
until like
good. Oh, okay, good. You're on California time anyway. Awesome.
I'm on California time anyway.
Anybody else have questions before we let her go?
No, but thank you for your presentation and the fact that, you're a living example of what can be done. So
Yeah.
I think that's really the credibility to everything you have here, and thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
When
Thanks.
you talked about age and everything else like that, when I bought a fitness scale and it gave you like your health age. And when I
Right.
first did it, it said I was 72.
Oh,
And I was like, oh no, like, I mean, it's fine to be 72 if you are 72, but I was 45. So I
What
had no health at all.
what brand scale did you get, Jill?
I got it's called Renfo. Um and it's also in my a link here, but it's RENPHO. That one and the Withing scale were both rated as being fairly accurate, and it will tell you like your body fat percentage and all this other stuff. And I went and did a private DEXA scan. There's a company called DEXAFit,
Right.
and they do a 6-minute scan of your body. It costs your first one costs $100, and then they try to sign you up to a package, but the first one's $100. It will do a body composition and tell
Right.
you how much of your body's fat, how much muscle, how, levels of fitness and everything else like that. So it will give you a starting point of where you're at too.
What's the name of that one again? I'm sorry.
DexaFit it's a company. So you go out there and they do, it's a medical scan. DEXA
Right.
scans are a medical scan, but it will, they're low radiation, so they're safer to do, but it will give you a composition of how much muscle you have, and you can kind of see yourself progress. So, and I found out that my scale was pretty accurate. So,
Okay.
Jill, ironically, I just put a Renfo scale in my Amazon cart yesterday, and they're on sale for $25. So you can't go wrong.
Oh, that's good to know. All
Yeah,
right.
they do go on sale quite frequently, and I've been very pleased with it. Their app's great, and like I said, it was pretty darn close to the DEXA scan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks. Very much appreciated.
Well, you're all welcome to contact me. Linda has my email, and if you had questions or you wanted to find an app and I'm happy to help with that. To help you, because I never, meant to go on YouTube and talk about health issues. I was going to talk about tech topics, and somehow, because I lost weight, I ended up talking about health. But, I've tried a lot of apps. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Great. Thanks, Jill. Appreciated.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.